gentlemen, this is In the Bleachers with the hosts of the show, Mr. Jaime Hixson. Boo.
Seriously,
and
man.
the co-host, the greatest co-host of all time, Hector Bose.
Or so you say.
So, Jaime,
Why do you always do this?
How you been since you've been gone for 2 weeks and you've done great shows and so on? And you know what? History has been made in bowling.
Yep, history was made in bowling.
History has been made in bowling. The Knicks are doing something. The Olympics just now agreed about.
In other words, the Special Olympics. They had the Special Olympics recently in. It's more along the lines of a unified Special Olympics basketball tournament, which they had at the UAU branch in West Brighton.
Right.
And it was a basketball tournament that wound up taking place over at the Beacon Center.
Which is great because
they gave away a whole bunch of goodies and food and drinks as well, and some trophies, of course.
Yeah, of course. Even if they come in last place.
And as it turns out, the Knicks happened to be one of quite a few sponsors for that tournament.
Great. That's great news. Now, Susan Wagner's on a roll, too.
Yep. Susan Wagner's on a roll. This is in girls basketball. They wound up winning 61-52 over Summit Academy in a game that was played in Brooklyn a couple of nights ago.
Yeah.
And thanks to a 24-point game from Denise Priolo and a 21-point game from Kanaya Britt, Wagner wound up breaking a halftime tie and pulled away for a 9-point victory.
And look at this. This bowling guy is terrific. That's a good.
Yeah, they had bowling recently at Rob's Country Lanes.
Yeah.
And a couple of old friends, Dan Brezzo and Mitch Sachs, who used to be teammates. Well, they were opponents this time, and they wound up bowling against each other at Rob's. And it was Brezzo that came away with a 225-164 victory.
Damn. All I know is that I don't know how many points for strike, but 10. 10 is for strike. So forth. And you got also track and field because we were talking before about Jim Thorpe and greatest people.
Yep. Both the boys and the girls had their meets recently. Notre Dame Academy did a meet over at the Armory Track and Field Center. And thanks to a couple of stars, Sierra Deneen, well, unfortunately, they were losing their star athlete, Sierra Deneen. She was on, she had just gotten done with a race the previous Friday.
Right.
So they had a sophomore, Lindsay Field, who wound up winning the 3,000 meters and also leading the winning relay in the 4x800.
Wow. And wasn't there a 4-minute? That person won by 4 minutes. They broke a record.
Yeah, this is in the boys' circuit.
In the boys' circuit, please tell me about that.
A kid named Ryan Tierney, who races for Peters, wound up winning both the 1,000 meters and the 600 meters at the Armory. Tierney wound up winning the 600 by 2:33.35. Actually, he won it in 2:29.48. That broke the record of 2:33.35, which was set 8 years ago.
Wow. Now that we've covered CSI. CSI. How are they doing?
This is in the boys' circuit in basketball. That is.
Please.
CSI McCown wound up winning 63-59 yesterday over Stuyvesant, and because of that, first-year coach Danny Lee wound up getting his first win as a varsity head coach.
Wow.
And also, the Wagner boys won 66-62 over Evander Childs.
Yeah. And
in one of those Catholic versus public school matchups, St. Peter's won 68-48 over Newdorp.
Hey, something's funny because there was an actual trade in talk about golf, and there was an actual trade in the NHL too.
Yep.
So
there was a trade in the NHL. As far as golf is concerned, Jason Day and Alex Noren wound up scoring off against each other in a playoff over at Torrey Pines. and it was Noren that wound up coming away with the victory, which means Jason Day has now gone 20 straight months without winning a single tournament.
Oh, wow. And that's tough.
And as far as the NHL is concerned,
yes.
I think we might be seeing the end of an era in the NHL because Jaromir Jagr wound up getting released.
Oh, wow.
Just recently by the Flames. So he's going to, just because his time in the NHL is over doesn't mean his time in hockey is over, because he's going to go back to his home country of the Czech Republic and play in his home country's league there.
How old is he right now?
He's 45. He'll turn 46 next month, I think.
Is he the oldest?
Right now, he's the oldest.
Wow. And also, who's the oldest player in basketball?
The oldest player in basketball right now? That's a really good question.
It's what's his name? He's bald. Well, most of the basketball players are bald. But he was on the Knicks. He's been going to a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the second. He's 41 years old, or 42 years old, something like that.
Wow.
And he just dunked it. And when he dunked the basketball,
Vince Carter.
Who's
approaching his 41st birthday.
41st birthday. So look at that, ladies and gentlemen. 41.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something? At 41. Yep. Well, as long as you keep yourself in good spirits.
He's kept himself in good spirits and, more importantly, in better shape.
And that's what you need.
I mean, granted, his knees are not like what they used to be, and he really can't get up that high anymore, but he could still dunk the ball, and he can really school a lot of the young players.
Yeah, that is true. And do you think he'll be a coach?
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he comes from some really good bloodlines over at North Carolina, and they produced some really good coaches in the past.
Hey, you know what? Things are going great.
Mm-hmm.
And we just wanted to say also, to all people deserves blessings, and we all go through our stuff, guys, mother, and so prayers to everybody. By the way, we're not ending the show now, we're just starting. I'm just saying that because we need it out there nowadays. So if anything else is there one thing that's on your mind that because there was a lot of things going on. So, you know what? Let's start talking about it now. Yep.
Now, as far as the other schools here, unfortunately, Staten Island Academy wound up losing 55-52 against Newark Tech.
That's a shame.
Yep. But my alma mater, Curtis, really put the beat down on Petrides. 58-26 was the score.
Montavious MVP at TNA used to have the Beatdown Club.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you mention that because a really good friend of mine who used to do a show here, his name is John Carl, he and his girlfriend had their photo taken with MVP during
Montavious Porter
during the 25-year anniversary show for Raw last week.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's really good. I'm glad that.
Yep. So we mentioned before that Curtis won, and it looks like they're going to have a 1,000-point scorer on their hands. Veronica Enjai, she had 19 last night. She has 993 points for her career at Curtis, and it's just a matter of time. It's not even a matter of if, but when she's going to break 1,000 points. And for the record, Curtis has won 10 out of 12 games this season in women's hoops.
That is something.
Mm-hmm. So there's a strong possibility of a city title, maybe even a state title for Curtis. If not for the boys, then maybe for the girls. Speaking of the girls, Tottenville won 52-45 against Moore in the old public school versus Catholic school matchup.
That's always been an interesting rivalry between the Catholic schools versus the public schools. There's always been a rivalry there because I can't even say rivalry like a real human being. But why has there been such a rivalry with the two schools? Because I know when CSI faces Wagner College, they really go at it because they're trying to define that I'm better, that I'm better than you.
And they just recently brought the rivalry back after about a decade-old absence.
And that was a good rivalry at the time because that still means something.
Yeah.
Rivalry today still means something.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's become lost in the college game. They've decided to break up rivalries in exchange of a major payday. That's why you don't see Duke versus Maryland anymore in the ACC, now that Maryland's in the Big Ten.
I mean, you used to see St. John's versus Georgetown.
St. John's and Syracuse was huge back in the day.
Syracuse, Georgetown.
Georgetown was
murderous.
Murder. Seeing Ronnie Cycli and Patrick Ewing and the now late Pearl Washington go at it. Dikembe Mutombo was in that rivalry. Alonzo Mourning, too. Allen Iverson.
You had really great grandmama.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
although LJ was played college ball at UNLV for 2 years.
I'm just saying, in general, I don't know if I'm out of touch with college basketball, but I don't see any rivalries that come up. I don't see
Duke versus Carolina is still big.
I don't see the way they used to cover Patrick Ewing back then, the way they used to cover Chris Mullin back then. The coaches were
Let me tell you, ESPN makes it a point to have Big Monday and occasionally a Wednesday doubleheader when they don't have their NBA Wednesday doubleheader. And Saturdays are huge. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Saturdays are huge for college basketball. And it's not just ESPN either.
Yeah.
The Fox Network has made it a point to broadcast the Big Ten, the Big East, and occasionally the Big 12 and the Pac-12.
Even the Yes Network and MSG does even high school ball.
Yep.
You know, which is
and
cool
also SNY. SNY's done their they've hosted their own invitational over at, I think, at Fordham.
You know, that's a lot. Talk about the track team for a minute, because that's, you know, like I said, there's a lot of things that are going on Staten Island that people want to hear about. We've been out for a while now. Let's talk about Staten Island for a little bit.
Well, not only has Notre Dame Academy really dominated on the girls' circuit, the St. Peter's boys have been led by a really promising young athlete, Ryan Tierney, who already set a Catholic League sectional record in the 1,000 meters yesterday. And then he won another meet, which is the 600 meters. So in the 1,000 meters, Tierney got himself a 29-second start on the opening lap. And then in the 600, he went through basically a minute and a half. And then he wound up finishing at 2.5 minutes, which shattered a record by about 8 years. Well, by 4 seconds, rather. He shattered an 8-year-old record by 4 seconds.
Damn.
In the 1,000 meters.
And I was reading this about. Tell more about that.
You were talking about the
Olympics,
the Unified Special Olympics. They had this event over at the UAU branch in West Brighton.
Right, and you know, again, my heart goes to the disabled, even myself included. You know, and the way we get treated badly and rudely.
Yeah, people don't know this, but you do have a disability.
On certain things, yes, I do have a couple, but you know what? It's the way people treat you, whether it's here or whether it's out there in the world. If you know, just because you don't have a cane or anything of that nature, that does not mean that you don't have a disability. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, there's a lot of disabled people out there, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, because we've become so PC in the world. We can't even put a knee down. As a matter of fact.
Or put up a fist.
As a matter of fact, yeah, to defend yourself. In the XFL coming back in 2020. And I think if they do it properly, I think they're going to have a great pastime if they do it well.
Well,
now they
made the right. They did the right thing by having the season after the NFL season ends. That's one thing.
Right.
Now, as far as teams, they haven't picked teams yet. They haven't picked locations yet.
No.
They haven't picked stadiums yet.
Right.
And they haven't even drawn any ownership yet. No one's bid for
Well, Jerry
city.
Jones is. I know Jerry Jones will be in that.
Tell you what.
I know Jerry Jones will be one of the players that. And the guy from the L.A. Clippers,
Steve Ballmer.
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban of the
I'm
runs
sure,
the Mavericks too.
I'm sure he'll want to get a football team going because these are guys that have money that want to do something. They always wanted to have football teams.
Mm-hmm.
And like our president, he wanted to be in the football team, the NFL.
And he had a team for 3 years. He had the Generals.
They had the New York, New Jersey Generals, but the XFL didn't want, the NFL did not want him in the league.
And they certainly did not want Mark Cuban in the league because
Right.
they know how much of a troublemaker he is.
He wanted to buy the Cubs too at some point.
Yes, he did.
And
He
they
wanted
didn't
the
want him
Chicago
either.
Cubs. Major League Baseball would not allow
Yeah,
him either.
For some reason, I mean, hell, they allow George Steinbrenner to be in it. Why not him? What is he? You need excitement.
Mm-hmm.
You need excitement. You know, the banter here may go a little off sometimes, but it's just to get your attention. And it's a joke. It's a running gag. You know, and if people don't laugh, hey, you know what? Like I said, we've become too PC, but the XFL, from what I read, is Vince McMahon is not ordering, but really putting a kibosh on knee.
Yeah.
Putting a knee down.
And supposedly he doesn't want anybody with criminal backgrounds in the league.
Like
Is that true?
Yeah, like putting a knee down is killing people. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the knee was just to wear awareness about the problems that minorities and people that have had problem with justice, that they're not getting the proper defense or anything of that matter, and also the people that have been that have injustice upon them.
And they still seem to turn a blind eye to this.
You know, and they're still talking about it.
Yeah.
Not as much as before.
It's died down a little bit, but the controversy's still there.
Because you had the Grammy Awards yesterday. And
that's been going on for almost 30 years.
But again, the Me movement is on. Now, you know, the things about that's happening. Everybody should get equal pay. Yeah. Everybody should get equal health care. Everybody should get all these things, and somehow or another, whether it's a minority person, we're Americans first and foremost. We're not minorities. We're Americans first and foremost. It's just that we don't have the money because money rules everywhere. Credit card rules everywhere and so forth. But it's a thing that is a problem because even with, like I said, the Grammy Awards, they made speeches like crazy. Mm-hmm. Ed Sheeran won. And out of the 4 girls, and they made a big stink about that because they said that, you know, you had 4 women there that had better songs than Ed Sheeran, and even the Oscars, everybody goes through that. They all go through it. Some actors will go, here, buddy, I haven't seen none of those movies. You vote. Some of them don't care. Mm-hmm. It's a broken system.
Yeah.
It's a broken system. Just like some of these leagues. Mm-hmm. Just like the hockey. I don't get. Stop making it a point system. Win or loss.
Yeah.
Win, loss, and tie.
Yeah.
That's it.
Although they did away with ties many years ago, that's why they're bringing in they're using single points for overtime losses.
Yeah, you know it's.
But they have to do away with that. It's either you win or you lose.
Yeah, and did you hear this guy about this?
Oh yeah, that's this is in bowling. Yes, we have a bowling update for you.
Yes, we used to have cricket too.
Yeah, we used to have cricket.
Don't worry, I'll bring
They used to have cricket here, but this time we're going to be talking a little bowling. This was over at Rob's Country Lanes over the weekend. a duo by the name of Dan Brezzo and Mitch Sachs. They wound up squaring off against each other during the 43rd annual New Year Singles Classic. And it was Brezzo that won it by a score of 225 to 164.
Wow.
Not sure if you're familiar with the point system in bowling.
Is 200 or is it 300?
Exactly right.
Strike is 200, and whatever else is the count is 10 pins. And I tell you, in some of those splits, they're incredible. But
there's competitive bowling in the high school circuit.
Yeah, there's competitive a lot of things. When they don't cut, when they don't get cut, the funds don't get cut because music and sports get cut.
Yeah,
more music than so on. I'm telling you, if all these so-called rich people really wanted to do something, they should be doing something. But
not only are programs being cut in the schools, there are schools that are being closed, specifically Catholic schools.
Yeah, and there are schools being taught in bathrooms and in stairways and so forth. So this is getting more ridiculous by the moment. But it's because there's a lot of abundance of people coming in and so on. But you've got great players that come out of these systems, that come out of these schools that come out. Now, when we was away, the Minnesota Viking game was a fantastic game.
Fantastic for the Eagles. They wound up blowing them away. Yeah. But you're probably referring to the game before that, which was the that ridiculous ending to their game with the Saints.
Yeah, the guy went like this down, and the guy just caught him, and he went down like this. Now,
I don't know if he was trying to undercut him or avoid trying to commit a penalty.
Yeah, Jim Johnson was saying that. He was trying to avoid pass interference. And you can't blame him for that, but that's going to scar him for life.
Yeah.
That's going to be scar. Now, remember the poor kicker that killed himself because he missed I mean, I hope that doesn't happen to this guy.
No, we can't have any of that. I mean, you cannot take the sport that seriously.
Even Bill Buckner, to this day, they'll remember I mean, right now it's a ha-ha thing.
The Red Sox fans can laugh at it now because they won a couple of titles in 2004, 2007, and 2013.
They wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
They literally wanted to kill him, like the old wrestling days.
And it got so bad that he had to move his family out of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And to Idaho, of all places, after he retired.
Yeah, you know what? But the games the football games that are coming up, the last two, the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls, will it be a fair fight?
Well,
will it be a slaughter?
Will it be a fair fight? Well, I see a much closer game this time between the Patriots and the Eagles.
Philly's defense versus
Philly's defense against New England's offense, which can score points at any time and are so efficient at scoring. But the difference in this game is going to be quarterback play. And I'll tell you what, if the Eagles had Carson Wentz, this is a different game. But now that Nick Foles is running the show, and this is no knock on Nick Foles. Nick Foles has been respectable. I mean, he's had a history with the Eagles. The time that he spent with the Rams and the Chiefs, I mean, he was in no man's land. But the time that he spent with the Eagles, he has played well. And ever since he took over for Carson Wentz after he tore up his knee, Nick Foles has played some really good football, specifically in the Viking game. He was efficient, he clicked with his receivers, and he also had the luxury of Jay Ajayi in the running game. And picking up Jay Ajayi from the Dolphins during the middle of the season was a critical move for them because we did not know how much the Eagles could go with just a one-dimensional offense. Right. And, of course, it also helps that Foles has Zach Ertz at tight end and Alshon Jeffrey at one of the receiver spots. And when you think about it, the Eagles might be the single toughest test for the Patriots all season.
Now, let me ask you, they've been in the Super Bowl for how many times? 4?
The Eagles or the Patriots?
Patriots.
This is the Patriots' 8th Super Bowl appearance. Correction, 10th. Their 10th Super Bowl.
Who was out of the 10th Super Bowl? Who was the toughest challenge?
The Giants, by far.
Were the toughest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. But they lost. I know you're not going to go 10-0 because, I mean, they would have beaten Pittsburgh's record, Dallas's record, 49ers record.
Mm-hmm.
All them people, how many, what is it? What's the record, 5?
The record for championships? It's 6.
Oh, who's got
and the Steelers have it.
Steelers have it right
Mm-hmm.
now?
And if the Patriots win this coming Sunday, they're going to tie the record.
Wow.
And consider this. Every single championship that the Patriots have won has been with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
Wow. And how long can that hold up? That's the thing, too.
As long as they want to.
I don't know. If he gets hurt, they don't have that extra quarterback.
And
ESPN, they traded away both of their good quarterbacks.
Jimmy Garoppolo's in San Francisco. Jacoby Brissett is now in Indianapolis. And the backup right now is Brian Hoyer, who's never had the best career in the NFL.
Well, you know what?
This is why they need to draft somebody in April.
Now, speaking of that, we have a new Giants coach now.
Yes.
Everybody's happy.
It's the offensive coordinator from the Vikings. It's Pat Shurmur, who has been a head coach before. He was in Cleveland for a couple of years, but he really did not get a fair shake simply because the Browns were just dreadful in his time there. But he's had a long career in the sport.
But everybody seems to be happy with him.
Yeah.
We all have a love fest with him now.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, let's see how he does his first year with the Giants next season.
Well, the first year doesn't really count as much because, again, he's got to put in a new system. He's got to get the players that he wants. In order for you to develop a team, I think it takes at least 3 or 4 years tops. That's when you have to give up. Now
that's how it should be, but people around here don't want to hear that. But that's how it should be, though.
Because poor Cleveland Browns. I mean, Jesus, those guys have had it for years. They've been in development for God knows how many years.
Did you see the parade that the Browns fans had for their team at the end of the year?
No.
You didn't hear about that?
No, please tell me. Urgent news, ladies and gentlemen. Jonathan Coachman is back on WWE.
After a 10-year absence. He had been with ESPN for a while. He had his own radio show for ESPN Radio for a little bit.
I think he's doing ESPN, but he's doing WWE full-time now. Mm-hmm. And there's a trailer on HBO for Andre the Giant.
Yes, there is. And it's a very intriguing trailer.
And the reason why he drank so much is because he was in so much pain. Mm-hmm. Not because he was an alcoholic.
And for the record, that documentary is coming out in April.
Yeah, so that's going to be a good thing to watch. But I'm telling you, it's something else.
Things are going well for the company, though. They brought back Coach. They signed Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Last night was the Royal Rumble.
Wait. First of all, tell me about the Cleveland Browns. Please,
yeah.
Before we go.
About a week or two after the regular season ended, the Browns fans decided to hold a parade around First Energy Stadium to celebrate the Browns' perfect season of 0-16.
Hey, if you're gonna celebrate, you might as well go out in style, baby.
You should have seen how these fans were. I mean, there was a pickup truck that had a toilet seat in the back. One guy had a sign up that was begging for LeBron James to be the quarterback. Another guy was dressed up as Big Bird.
Speaking of that too, the Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm. The Pro Bowl was last night.
The Pro Bowl was a piece of work. And I sent you a link on the 5 things how they could improve it.
Mm-hmm.
And one person said softball. Let them play softball.
Another person suggested that they should have the Pro Bowl the week of the Hall of Fame game. Instead of having the Hall of Fame game, replace it with the Pro Bowl.
Right, and also that the offensive players should play defense and defensive players should play offense.
That would be funny. Can you imagine J.J. Watt as a quarterback? Or maybe Tom Brady lining up on the line?
Some of them were 2 or 3, position
Many
players.
years ago, when the league first got started, there were players who played offense and defense, and they lasted the entire time.
Jim Thorpe was one of those people that played offense and defense, and they were indoctrinating him into the football. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact,
the Giants signed him when they first formed.
Yeah, and then when he tried for the Olympics, that was it for him because they said he was a when he played baseball too.
Yep.
So they said he was a professional, and that was it for him. But the man was amazing.
Yeah. Yes, he was. Probably the greatest athlete of his time.
One of the greatest athletes.
And that's saying a lot considering that there have been so many outstanding athletes that have followed after him. I mean, there was Jack Johnson, Babe Ruth, Jesse Owens.
Jack Johnson, my God.
Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight boxing champion.
Yeah, and he got a raw deal because of racism.
Mm-hmm.
He really got a raw deal.
Although some of that he kind of brought upon himself because he also ran a countrywide prostitution ring.
Yeah, well, you got to make money somehow because they wouldn't back then. Racism was at an all-time high. And
it was dreadful.
And they were getting not that much pay. So what do you got to do? You got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Just like these strippers now that are making so much money that they're becoming artists, singers.
Cardi B, anyone?
Cardi B. Hey, you know what? If that's the route, as long as you have a plan, I'm not saying that's the best plan to go to, but if that's the way you got to make it, then that's the way you got to make it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. But, that's something.
Although Cardi B's story was different because she also did Love and Hip Hop.
Yeah, so give her some credit. But there's a lot of females out there that are doing that and that are stripping and making a lot of money. Some of them, but they're improving themselves. Porno stars doing the same thing. But, again, the way bringing it back to the sports era, because before we get confused and say, well, we're talking too much politics, and bringing it back to the sports era, because there have been a lot of, like Burt Reynolds who played.
Burt Reynolds played, if I'm not mistaken.
Chuck Connors played real football.
Chuck Connors played football, and he was also a Brooklyn Dodger. He played baseball many years ago.
And he also starred in a porno flick.
That I did not know.
Yeah, he starred in an adult film.
But if I'm not mistaken, didn't Burt Reynolds go to Florida State?
Yeah, he also. So you see, there's
the actor who did Hill Street Blues, Ed Marinaro. He was a running back at Cornell.
Look at that, and a lot of wrestlers. Dusty Rhodes.
There's a heavy background.
Hansen.
Yep.
Wahoo McDaniels, who played for the New York Jets, at the time.
A couple of the Von Erich brothers played football as well.
Yeah, so
probably the more popular college for these guys to go to was West Texas State.
Wahoo McDaniels
played for the Jets.
He'll always be.
And he won a championship with them.
So he did. Ernie the Cat Ladd.
He had a long career in the NFL.
Yeah, and then he goes, man, I'm glad I went to wrestling. If I wouldn't even wrestling before, I would have never played. I would have never played football.
He's probably the first wrestler out of a long line of wrestlers who had the most durable pro career in addition to the most durable wrestling career.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Ernie the Cat Ladd played in the American Football League, and I think he dabbled in the NFL as well.
Yeah, so like I said, you got a lot of it's amazing.
Even now, Roman Reigns went to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and he's from Samoa, which they don't get a vote in.
Actually, he's from Florida.
But
he was born and raised in Florida, but he comes from Samoan heritage.
Yes, Samoan heritage, and Samoa, they don't get a...
And, of course, we're missing the most obvious superstar, The Rock. He played at the University of Miami.
Steve Austin also played, too. There's a lot of wrestlers that actually play football.
There's a heavy football influence in the sport. That's why their athleticism is so tremendous.
Whether it's college or the NFL, even Baron Corbin.
Yep.
Baron Corbin he's the newest football guy that I know of.
And you can even talk about a couple of the women. They used to be athletes in other sports as well. For example, Charlotte, a volleyball player.
She
for
got
Florida State and North Carolina State.
She got her scholarship. She had scholarships for that, and she was a two-sporter. She could have done something else.
I think she also played basketball, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and great athlete. That's going to be something else. But how do you see now that the Giants have done this? We're bouncing around like a damn ball, but
well, you know that old saying. That's the way the ball bounces.
But now. What do you see now that we had this love fest with the Giants? In a couple of minutes, what do the Giants need to fix? And,
they have a lot to fix.
Now that we have Todd Bowles coming back as the Jets,
which I really don't have a problem with.
Does he have to fix much as well? And also, the poor Cleveland Browns, who are they getting another number 1 draft choice?
Yeah, let's see what they do with this first overall draft choice.
Will they get another quarterback?
At this rate, wouldn't surprise me. The question is who? Josh Allen, Josh Rosen from UCLA, Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Those are the 5 most well-known quarterback prospects who could be drafted into the first round right now.
Yeah, so that...
Who should the Browns get? They should get Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Who should the Giants get? Now that we know that Eli Manning is going to be
the quarterback,
Pat Shurmur's guy next year, it wouldn't surprise me if they took Josh Rosen, but the guy who I would like to see the Giants get is Saquon Barkley from Penn State. He's the running back. You know why?
Why?
Because the Giants need an every down running back that Eli or whoever the quarterback is going to be down the road can give the ball to. Saquon Barkley is a playmaker who can really carry an offense. He did that with Penn State the last couple of years. He would be a great complement for somebody's quarterback in somebody's backfield.
And the Jets?
What do the Jets need? They need a number 1 receiver, a franchise-type receiver. I think they could use a quarterback too. They need help on the offensive line. They specifically need help in the secondary. I think their line and their linebackers are decent enough, although I've been hearing a lot of Muhammad Wilkerson trade rumors. But first and foremost, defensively, they have to get a cornerback in the worst way.
Now, sticking to New York, the Nets.
Wow. Unfortunately, well, here's some good news and bad news. The good news is...
Give me the bad news first.
They're 14 games under 500.
Okay.
And they don't have a superstar player that can really take them to the next level. That's the bad news.
What about D'Angelo Russell?
He is the good news. At least D'Angelo Russell is back at full strength, but they're going to rest him for periods of time so he could get his knees back in order.
Well, don't blame him but they have some good guys on the team. It's not like they
got good young players.
They have good young players, and if they develop them well, and they also get some other guys, they could become a decent team. They could become. They're not going to be, I don't think, the greatest team in the world, but they're gonna do something.
Let me put it this way: they're not the Kings.
Yeah. Oh.
That's another lost cause.
Jesus. And Griffin just got traded.
That's right. Speaking of basketball, Blake Griffin, and this is the breaking news that has come out of the NBA. Blake Griffin just got traded by the Clippers to the Pistons in a deal that involves Tobias Harris. I think Avery Bradley's in the deal
Who
too.
the Knicks wanted to, they wanted Tobias
Avery
Harris.
Bradley was in trade rumors for a long, long time now.
Now,
And 2 draft picks.
Who does that benefit? I'm sure the Clippers had to give up someone else too, besides
When
him.
you think about it, I think this benefits the Pistons more than it does the Clippers because this actually beefs up their front line a hell of a lot more. You put him on there with Andre Drummond, they're going to be really, really dangerous.
Now, mind you, they signed him for a contract already. The Clippers signed him for a contract.
Yeah, they gave him a contract extension.
And then they said, no, we're going to get rid of you. So
Everybody thought that it was going to be DeAndre Jordan who was going to be traded by the Clippers.
I'm sure he wishes he was traded now, the way the team is set up. Do you think they're going to be on
the Clippers are. It looks like the Clippers are in rebuilding mode
I was going to say religious mode, but
I think the Clippers might be needing some religion in their system in order to try and get better. But after trading Chris Paul, now they trade Blake Griffin, so close to All-Star Weekend, and then DeAndre Jordan, who has an option in his contract for next year. He's being rumored for a trade. The Clippers are rebuilding right now.
I'm telling you, if you're not going to get if you know he's not coming back, you might as well trade him. And you know who's like that too? Mm-hmm. Kyle O'Quinn.
Yeah.
You know Kyle O'Quinn is leaving. You know for a fact he's leaving, right?
Mm-hmm. And for the record, Avery Bradley was involved in that trade. It's Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, one of their role players, Boban Marjanovic, and a pair of draft picks.
And it's not Griffin. Griffin, that was 1 for 5, 1 for 3.
A 1 for 3 deal.
Oh, because they have to match up money. Okay, yeah, that's a thing too. But
and for the record, they changed the date of the trading deadline for the NBA. It used to be February 23rd.
It's now February 8th.
Now it's February 8th.
Right, and here's the thing: New York Knicks, right? Mm-hmm. We have controversy. Joakim Noah.
He's a goner, supposedly.
Fighting with
Jeff Hornacek?
Jeff Hornacek, but still being a good citizen because he's still teaching the guys that, because what the players have nothing to do with management. And management actually tried to talk with him. Mm-hmm. Some management people like to talk to people and not scream at them, not say derogatory things about them. No, they like to talk, but it became an emotional thing because he's not getting the time. He's not even getting garbage time.
Yeah.
And I think Jeff Hornacek, he's gone next year.
It would be completely unfair to him if he were to leave.
I think he's gone next year and bring in Mark Jackson.
If Mark Jackson can put aside his ill will towards the Knicks and take that job.
Bring in Mark Jackson, baby.
Let me tell you something. That would be such an upgrade and such a public relations coup that this would probably be the first sensible thing that they've done in at least 20 years.
Which is what Dolan wants. He now that he's faded away in the background and you don't hear from him much, which is good. He's letting the GM do what they got to do and so on.
Which is about time.
But the way I've been reading is that they made Jeff Hornacek's job is on the line. And also,
I really don't know why. He's only had a year and a half.
You have Frank, because they're in a position where they're, I think, 8 games behind. 8 and a half games behind. Mm-hmm. And you don't know whether they should just go with the new, get rid of the old, and just play Frank Minikita and just play him with Hardaway Jr. and just let him play.
You know
because
how many
that's the
people
star
have
of the
really
future.
been complaining about Frank Ntilikina? He's
Ntilikina-
a teenager.
That's what I'm saying. You got
We're not expecting him to be Magic Johnson. We just want him to develop well where he can
he's
do
not
a contribution down the road.
We didn't get LeBron James right away.
they never will.
There are very few people that can come up and do it right away. And you do. You got Kristaps Porzingis. We landed a lightning rod, you know. But here's the thing. Do you get rid of Kyle O'Quinn, Enes Kanter, or Hendon Gomez?
Well,
you know you got to get rid of
I
Joakim
would keep
Noah-
Enes
Joakim
Kanter
Noah.
because he's played well for that team this season.
So-
he's been a real diamond in the rough for them.
Now,
I mean, he's given them toughness, he's given them scoring in the low post, and he's also given them a bully mentality, which is
Now-
what the Knicks have been needing for years.
Here's the thing.
I think he should cool it with the Twitter rants, but
Yeah.
at the same time,
The trolling
his
rant,
personality has been really good for them.
the Charles Barkley of our time and the Anthony Mason, let's say.
Let's face facts. No one is ever going to be like Sir Charles.
Yeah.
He's an original.
But I tell you, here's the thing. Do you play Bron Baker more, Frank Ntilikina? Do you get rid of because there's interest in what's his name, Courtney Lee,
That I can understand.
Lance Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
There's interest in Kyle O'Quinn,
Mm-hmm.
Hendon Gomez,
Mm-hmm.
and Enes Kanter, McDermott.
Doug McDermott, yeah.
Doug McDermott. You have all those. You've got 6 players that people are that are interested in.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a second rounder if the NBA draft is this deep. Like they keep on saying that it's a good draft year this year.
Yeah.
Then you know what? Get rid of O'Quinn. But I've heard that Hornacek doesn't like Hendon Gomez. But again, if you're gonna get rid of O'Quinn, Courtney Lee, Lance Thomas, and who's the guy that they play now for instead of Frank Ntilikina? Trey Burke.
You mean Trey Burke?
Trey Burke, they just got
The
up.
Michigan kid?
They just got him up, and also the other guy, the older, the veteran,
Jarrett Jack.
Jared Jack. There's interest in Jared Jack.
Yeah,
So
they're going to
what-
need a veteran point guard to help run the show as a backup down the road.
But how do you go? Do you say, you know what? Let's just try to bring up these kids and let's continue with the draft because they got Dotson coming up, who's a good ball player.
Mm-hmm.
They've got all these young players, and they're not letting them play. So should they?
Well, Damian Dotson, if I'm not mistaken, is riding the Westchester Shuffle.
So
Or the
he was
Westchester
in the G
Shovel, I
League.
should say.
So should they try for the playoffs, or should they just go? You know what? Let's build the way we're building. I think they should build the way they're building.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the playoffs. You know, if we had a shot, great. If we don't, you know what? As long as you're going in the right direction and these people start improving,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you go, okay, fine, because then the guys will want to play.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that are gonna want to play for your team
Mm-hmm.
if you build up a good team from the beginning. That's how good teams go.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not the Celtics or anything of that nature.
Not even close. Shoot, they're not even the 76ers for that matter.
But what I'm saying is because the Celtics have made fantastic trades.
Yeah.
And they've gotten away with, wheeling and dealing. Danny Ainge has done a great job for them.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, what do you do in a case of that nature? Do you dump
Knowing
the season?
what the Knicks mentality is, they're going to try and make a run at the playoffs, which I don't think they're just not good enough to be a playoff team. That's number one. Number two, they need to keep developing these young guys. If there is interest for some of the veterans on that team, explore a trade for a younger player. And while they're at it, see if they can get some draft picks out of it, because they're hurting for draft picks in the worst way now.
Well, they still got a number 1 draft choice. Now, here was something else that I read, and that is that if they wanted Joakim Noah, they would have to get rid of the first number 1 draft pick.
Oh, brother.
So, is he worth getting rid of?
They never should have signed him in the first place. And I would do all I can to try and cut this guy loose. He's been nothing but dead weight for them.
But is he worth getting rid of? Getting rid of your number 1 draft choice, getting that money back to see if you can sign people. Do you go that route and go, okay, you know what? Because Joakim Noah is owed $72 million.
Yeah.
And let's get rid of him. We'll give him the number 1 draft choice, and then you know what? We're gonna develop our own, because we got people from the G League coming up, and we got 2nd round draft choices that are coming up. If we trade Kyle O'Quinn, who's not going to be on the team next year, you know what do you do? What would you tell me?
What should they do with Joakim Noah?
What should they try? The examples that I gave you. Where should they go? Who should they get rid of?
See if they can find a sucker to take on Joakim Noah's contract.
Do you
Emphasis
give up the number
on
1
sucker.
Do you give up the number 1 draft pick?
I would try and find a way not to. They need draft picks.
But if they said we'll take Joakim Noah, but we need the number 1 draft pick.
I would not want to do it, but they would probably have to sacrifice it.
Okay. Second thing, if you get rid of him, do you get rid of Kyle O'Quinn?
If I'm not mistaken, isn't he going into his walk year?
His walk year's next year.
That would make him attractive for somebody. Plus, they might need someone to
you can get a 2nd round
give
draft
minutes
pick.
to.
You can get a 2nd round draft pick for him at least.
Possibly.
Okay. No, you get, because he's playing fantastic right now. Courtney Lee, another guy that's playing.
He would be really good on a team that's a potential playoff team that's looking for a veteran guard.
Also, they're also asking for, from what I've been reading, 2nd round draft pick, but they should get a guy that could be immediately put in there as well. Lance Thomas. Same thing. Do you get rid of all the guys that I just mentioned? Do you keep Hernan Gomez?
Willie Hernan Gomez is going to be tough, because in the playoffs, they're going to need a lockdown defender. A playoff team needs a lockdown defender in order to dictate the game, and Hernan Gomez just does not fit that bill.
But here's the thing. When you go into the draft choices, when you get a draft pick, that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
So why not sacrifice right now to get a defender later?
Right.
That's what I'm going. If you're going to trade Hernan Gomez, who's a great scorer and is a great back, I think if he develops well, he's a fantastic ball player. They're not just giving him the minutes, because Hornacek for some reason doesn't like him. I don't know what. But Kyle O'Quinn has emerged immensely. But again, people normally play great in their off year when they're going. So I'm asking you, who do you keep? Who do you get rid of?
I would keep,
besides Joakim Noah.
Well, aside from Joakim Noah,
they're also saying that some people want Frank Nikita. Would you get rid of him?
That would be, to be honest with you, that's not really a surprise, because a guy like him, with his build and his skill set, especially defensively,
years old, he's skinny. He's got to put weight on eventually. If he
I can see why teams are interested in him, because he's a defensive point guard who's got the wingspan of a 7-footer.
And he's also a smart basketball player. He's not a dumb basketball player.
And he's also a very hard-working basketball player.
Exactly. So he could develop into something nice. He could be a nice player. Now, is he a starter? I don't know. Could he come off the bench?
He could be a starter down the road.
Again.
That's why I would keep him.
So, do you get
Frank
rid of
Ntilikina, I would keep. Damian Dotson, I would keep.
Do you get rid of Ron Baker?
Ron Baker's interesting, because he would actually make a good backup for them. At the same time, He's also got a pretty decent touch from the outside. So my answer would be I would keep him.
But yeah, if because what was that guy? Oh, I forgot. They were trying to get rid of. Oh, he was a guy that an all-star guy.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what team. They're trying to get rid of him, and from the Magic. Was
from
it
the Orlando Magic?
Was it from the Magic? The guard.
Let's see.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Bledsoe, Beasley.
Oh, you mean well, Eric Bledsoe's on Milwaukee.
No, not Bledsoe. I forgot the guy's name. His name has been popping up like.
Well, there's Aaron Aflalo, Jamel Artis, DJ Augustine, Evan Fournier, who's a swing man, Mario Hazonia, Shelvin Mack as well, Alfred Payton, Terrence Ross.
He was a guard that a lot of people want him, but I forgot his name, and I do apologize for that. But this guy was a really good guard that the Knicks could get him, but they're saying, is he worth getting? He could make Porzingis'
job easier.
Yeah, make him easier, but he's another one that doesn't play defense as much, and they want Frank Ntilikina in the job mix, and they want a lot of things for this kid, and I forgot the guy's name. Blast. I do apologize for that, but again, I'm trying to doing something unprofessional by potential. Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
Kemba Walker.
He was rumored to be in trade rumors for quite a while. Now suddenly Michael Jordan wants to keep him. Something's got to give. Either you want to keep the guy or you don't. And between you and me, Kemba Walker would look great in a Knicks uniform.
Yeah, but what would you give up?
Oh, the Knicks would have to give up a lot for him.
Frank Ntilikina.
Probably Frank Ntilikina.
Now, that's the thing. Would you give up a guy
for a kid like Kemba Walker?
For a kid like Kemba Walker. Now, it's going to be more. There's going to be more. There's going to be more into it. It's going to be like a 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 deal. Like Kenan Gomez and Nikita for this dude. Would you give that up? And that's
it's a lot to ask, and he's in his late 20s now, but
wow. And that's
he'd be the best point guard that the Knicks have had in years.
Yeah, and that's the point that I'm getting at.
Well, unfortunately, we're kind of running low on time.
So the Yankees are going to do great. The Mets are going to do horrible. No, they're actually going to do decent this year.
Speaking of the Yankees, they wound up signing Danny Espinosa to be competing for the second base job. And that's a lot.
Espinosa. Oh, Jesus. That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, Alvaro Espinosa from the late 80s and early 90s.
Alvaro Espinosa, yeah. Well,
Hector, you can take us. Yes. You can just take us on home.
Yes, I will not say this. All I will say is, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you listened to the discrepancy that was on there, the disclaimer, and that everything was in fun and jest. And remember this, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them, because you never know when they're going to go. So, as Jaime would say, my name's Hector, he's Jaime, we're out of here. This is In the Bleachers.